In Omnibus this week, images of time and space and sounds that have influenced contemporary and pop music for over 25 years. The controversial figure of Karlheinz Stockhausen.
And the Japanese would come in, you see, they are very polite. Sure. And sit down, for example. And then it would start, the lights would go off, and then it would start. And then they would see, you saw it in the hall, I could always see it from the control desk. They would say, and then would go like this.
Today he expected.
Serious, don't.
United Nations.
He who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. He who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise. New means change the method. New methods change the experience, and new experiences change man. Whenever we hear sounds, we are changed, we are no longer the same. And this is the more the case when we hear organized sounds, music. The school of Vienna, of the Viennese composers, had reduced the musical objects, the themes, the motives, to entities of only two sounds, intervals. Webern in particular, Anton von Webern. And when I started to compose music, I certainly was a child of the spirit of the first half of the century, continuing and widening what the composers of the first half had prepared. Tried, like the painters in the so-called abstract or informal period, to avoid any melody that you could whistle afterwards or sing, to avoid any recognizable rhythm. The people were absolutely shocked. They said, what do individual notes mean? And we were naturally somehow influenced by this. And even getting out of our tradition, in which I still learned how to compose with themes and motives and melodies, etc., I thought already that the distance between these notes was enormous. For me, a silence of 2 seconds was something that I could barely accept myself. This synthesis led to a music which sounded to the music critic as point music. There was even the word star music used during that time because it sounded like the points in the sky. So for the first time in the history of Western music, composers became involved with the composition of masses of notes. And I still remember a moment during my musical education at the conservatory in Cologne when I had sometimes, it was a kind of an essay, an exercise. I didn't think I would ever become a composer at that time. And I showed it to my teacher when I had composed two very many notes in a small amount of time. Then he said, who is going to hear that? Who can hear these notes? You you don't control what you are writing. You see, what is the point in writing notes and if the people can't hear them? And I said, I don't want you to count them. He says, well, what do you mean? I mean, look all these notes here. I said, yeah, I want this. He said, well, just make one note, be precise, and that's it, he said. There were several reasons why I went into the sound itself. You see, up to that moment, one had only composed with sounds that are ready-made. What I wanted is to compose each sound itself, its inner life. Well, the first sounds that I made were very dead, because they didn't move inside. But I had started to understand the principle of what sounds are, really. See, I first record the sounds on 1-channel tape or 2-channel tape, and then I want to distribute it in the space. I discussed a lot with my technicians in the studio about 1953 if it would be wise to put musicians on a chair and swing them around, for example. And then he said they might object, really. So then we thought it would be perhaps necessary to let them play into microphones and connect the microphones to speakers and then swing the speakers around. Then they would perhaps not object, but they objected too. Because they said, oh no, you can't do that with me, I'm here, and the sound has to come from here. But the moment we discover the means to move the sound with any given speed in any given auditorium or even in a given space outdoors, there's no reason any longer, not only no reason, but there is the end of the fixed perspective. And the extreme of this concept I have reached happily and with a lot of diplomacy, I must say, 2 years ago. At the World Fair in Osaka in Japan, I collaborated with an architect and I had the chance to realize an object which I described in 1956. It is a spherical hall seating 600 people on a platform in the middle, which is sound transparent, and then there are speakers all the way around. And then I had constructed a sound mill which permits with 1 input and 10 outputs in any configuration. Let's say I would determine now with a push-button system. I had 7 outputs of that table, reaching to any speaker. Let's say this voice I want now for the next 2 or 3 minutes to go in a spiral movement. This voice. We had a wonderful time, 183 days, every day for 6.5 hours to play with these things, you see. It was wonderful. And the Japanese would come in, you see, they are very polite. Sure. And sit down, for example. And then it would start, the lights would go off, and then it would start. And then they would say, you saw in the hall, I could always see it from the control desk. They would say, and then would go like this. So even if they had never heard new music, that was exotic stuff as their music is exotic stuff for us. Nevertheless, new music, old music, little importance. What is important is that when they went out. And I was very happy. Yeah, if you discover something really new, what concerns the experience of man, I mean, there's no discussion. It's just, that's the way it is. And all the rest is minor talk about little details. But that was important. It was a new experience.
Und fast spüre ich die Träume, in den Tag, in die Nacht, in mein Tun, immer in dir, von dir geleitet und behütet, dich im Herzen und in den Augen, ein klein wenig entrückt und vielleicht schon ein wenig nicht mehr lebendig, doch nur ein klein wenig, um mit allem in Verbindung zu sein.
We are in a very important transition from a traditional way of perceiving art and a new way of making and perceiving art. We discover new functions, which is that the art itself is revelatory, is revealing existence and ourselves and changing us as human beings. And once this has started, a human being of today and in 100 years are almost incomparable, even physiologically.
Piece of paper, darling? Same here.
Passengers to Alhada, this is the final call for Iberia flight number ID 905.
You're not supposed to see that. You're supposed to see you
She's well-named gay. She looks so gay.
I'm obviously not one of them.
This is
The ranges of perception are ranges of time of perception. And the time is subdivided by us, by the construction of our body and our instruments to perceive. change time very quickly. And the modern man is able just to change very quickly. And if he doesn't, he gets sick, or he even dies. If the universe wouldn't be the way I am, something would be wrong. When I say I'm an atom, I don't mean, never speaking symbolically. I am an atom in the perspective of the universal dimensions. So that, for example, the first prayer that I taught two of my little children was as follows. God, you are the total. The galaxies are your limbs. The suns are your cells. The planets are your molecules. And I am one of your atoms. Fill everything with your light. So the structure of my body shows me exactly the way the body of the whole universe is, and the spirit that keeps it all together, more or less, is God. So there is no difference between composing music and thinking about the stars and the way the whole universe is functioning. The same oneness between the infinitely small and the infinitely large naturally is everywhere. 1964, I became more and more daring in what I was giving my co-players and myself as graphic material. There was the score of Procession, which consists only of plus and minus signs and equal signs. Now, it's hard to speak about all this. It means basically to make contact what always has been called the intuition. Only in traditional music we said the composer has a short moment of intuition, and let's say he's going in a tram or going on a walk, and then he lives on that for the next 4 weeks in working out what the so-called idea or that vision, that sound vision. And it was like a flashlight, like in the night, or like a lightning. And all I'm saying now is I try to find a technique for myself as a composer and interpreter and for other musicians who work with me to extend these moments of the lightning, of the intuitive moment, consciously. To find a technique that when I want to start working, that it starts. And that I'm not a victim, complete victim, and have to wait until it comes, as we say. And it mostly came in the wrong moments, when I had no time or someone wanted to talk to me, etc. But that I find a technique when the intuition can be started and stopped, and that these moments of intuitive working must last longer. And as long as I want. But then I have to find a complete new technique of making music. I can't sit at the paper with a pencil and sharpen the pencil and have a rubber and write down what's coming in intuition, because intuition has a very particular kind of speed, which is by no means congruent with the speed of writing. And there is the crux. The text says, think nothing. Wait until it becomes absolutely quiet inside of you. When you have reached that, start playing. As soon as you begin to think again, stop playing. And try to reach again the state of non-thinking. Then continue playing. But you have no idea how difficult that is at the beginning for musicians or for anybody to think nothing, because the brain is always running like a machine, and nobody has practically learned to stop it. These are the simplest things in life. When someone says, I can't sleep, then I say, well, stop thinking. Then you will fall asleep right away. Or decide to sleep. I mean, stop. And you can sleep at any moment. And most of the people can't do that. They haven't even thought about not thinking. We have a pianist, Mr. Kontarski, in our group, who is an extreme intellectual. And everything must be intellectually, mentally clear. Otherwise, he says, at least, he can't do anything. So I said, what do you mean by rhythm of the universe? What is all that mystic stuff here? And I said, well, I mean, have you never had dreams where you fly from star to star? Oh, I said, no, I don't have this kind of said, what are you talking about? Then I say, well, have you any inner view or inner vision of how the planets are rotating around the sun? What do you mean? I said, well, Alois, you see, perhaps the constellations. Think Cassiopeia or all the other constellations of the stars. He said, oh, you mean Webern? I said, yes. He said, well, okay, let's start. So afterwards, there remains only one question. Either all 5 players, me included, were liars, or were cheating themselves, or something was going on that worked. I would love to see places where people know they find silence and where they know that the music is serving them to expand their inner consciousness, to use the music in order to discover layers within them which they are unaware of, and to use the music as a flying device to unify with the cosmos, with the cosmic forces. See, my music is not so important in this whole context. You are always referring to my music, my music. What does it mean, my music? It's just something that has come into my mind, and I'm working all the time, and that's it. So I'm a myth. I'm a name, and if I go away, then they're just a tag on something that vibrates within yourself when you are confronted with this so-called music. It has a name, so in order to identify it. But that's so like Beethoven. Who is he? He was a very miserable person, I must say, as a human being. And he is a myth for something that we are, that is within ourselves. We are echoing. Beethoven is part of us, or he doesn't exist. And in that sense, I think it's only a means. It's like a spiritual food of all sorts. And it will be used by certain people who discover a certain identity of what they are and what is vibrating. They choose more of it. They like it. Liking means, as I always say, remembering. When I like something, then I discover something that I have been before, that is profoundly already within me. It resonates like a piano that you hit. The whole life should be then on that level, not just when you listen to music. Thank you. What are we? Just storage of information. But when you can become like what I call a radio receiver and just a transmitter, then you are not interested in yourself at all. There's nothing to express, really. And you become very careful in detecting what is self-expression and what is expression of something that comes in you, that is amazing yourself, where you are constantly in a state of surprise, amazed. That you are amazed at something, what happens to you. And when this state is arrived, even in short moments, then you will be quite astonished what happens through your body. Then you become a medium. Pluramann.